Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Yakutala Ibrahim Muhammad, and I thank you all for joining us. I am actually going to be discussing several topics today. Our first topic is going to be tips and strategies, focusing on nutrition and wellness prep for Ramadan. So the idea is to really provide you with resources and information to help you really feel empowered when it comes to your health and wellness for Ramadan. As we know, Ramadan is not just about fasting. It's really about spiritual renewal. So when we approach Ramadan, or as we approach Ramadan, we want to ask ourselves, how do we want to be spiritually renewed? What are some steps? What are some resources, tips, and information that we can use to really and truly feel spiritually renewed? And we're going to be talking about some of that today. I always ask when I engage, I always ask you, what do you want to improve upon this Ramadan? What would you like to improve upon from last Ramadan? What do you want to be different? And what is your Ramadan strategy to make sure that it happens, right? So really looking at what your Ramadan was like last year and how you want this Ramadan to really be different. Alhamdulillah, we have time to really reflect on that, itemize it, write it out, do somewhat of what you want your Ramadan vision to be like. Discuss it with your family. Discuss it with your loved ones. With nutrition prescriptions, I just want to do a little introduction and share with you what our framework. We're looking at our framework, what we want to share with you. Our framework is 3-part. So specifically, we're looking at clarity, really providing you with the information and a clear path forward and a clear understanding, and also allowing you a safe space to where you can ask your questions and get clarity that you deserve. We're really big on evidence-based resources and that we offer user-friendly resources that are easy to understand, very easy to use. We also use guides and templates to make your life easier when it comes to meal planning and your nutrition strategy. We also, of course, provide additional resources that are available depending on what you specifically need for where you are in life right now. We also focus a big part on support because we understand that with the information, sometimes you do need that support and accountability to really help you sustain whatever you've accomplished, but also looking at what does the sustained lifestyle and behavior changes, what do they look like for overall improved health outcomes. We offer weekly and monthly sessions to really just allow you to check in, see where you are, and see how your journey is going. So with that, we want to dive into preparing for Ramadan 2025, looking at key foundations when it comes to preparing our intentions, because we know that our actions are by our intentions. When we look specifically at mind, preparing our mind, our body, and our intentions for Ramadan. We also, of course, look at Quranic wisdom, and this is one of my favorite ayahs from Surah Nahl, and it basically reminds us to really eat of the sustenance which Allah has provided for you, lawful and good, and be grateful for the favors of Allah if it is He whom ye serve. So I like to preface the presentation with that beautiful reminder and really look at what our intention is for Ramadan 2025 and planning to really keep it simple, yet focused and intentional and consistent. With this, I always give a gentle reminder to make sure that whatever we plan to do, we also make the intention to schedule it. Okay, put it in your calendar, like everything else that we prioritize in life. And then we'll also talk about specific components and considerations for a simplified nutrition strategy. And then we'll explore throughout the presentation some of our resources from our Ramadan resource library. And we'll also give you an opportunity to gain access to the library for your use towards the end of our presentation today. And thank you for joining us. So I'd like to pose a few questions. The first is, of course, why wellness is important during Ramadan. Of course, we know we're fasting for 29 or 30 days, and fasting can impact your energy levels. Many of us have been fasting for many years. Okay, so not just energy levels, but also heart hydration, our focus, throughout the day. Some of us are working outside the home, some of us are working inside the home, but we want to really look at what does that preparation look like when it comes to preparing your body in advance, that can help you stay focused. So towards the beginning of Ramadan, we're super excited. We have all the energy, and then the middle and towards the end, we kind of wax and wane a little bit. We want to make sure that we really approach wellness and understand it's not just the physical, but it also includes your mental well-being, right? Which are also vital for a fulfilling Ramadan experience. One thing that's really important that I always focus on is the importance of setting SMART goals. When we talk about SMART goals, we're really talking also about the specific goals that we have that are specific, measurable, they're action oriented, realistic, and they're timed, right? So as we focus on this, we want to get really specific with what we want to accomplish as we approach Ramadan, while we're in Ramadan, and what we want to carry over after Ramadan, right? And you can take out your journal, your favorite stationery, and kind of jot some thoughts or ideas down. Personal use. When we talk about measurable, this is something where we can say, I've done it, and I know I've done it because I've measured it. Action oriented allows us to focus on, yes, this requires action. It requires me to put forth action in order to accomplish the goal. And then, of course, making sure that it's realistic. It's something that can actually be accomplished within your time frame. When we're talking about specific SMART goals for Ramadan, we're looking at goals that we can look at and then execute and accomplish within Ramadan, and then ask ourselves, did I've accomplished that? What do I want beyond Ramadan and through the rest of the year? Okay. Being intentional about your worship and your ibadah is really important. You're physically active. If you have specific workout or you run, and then also making sure whatever your goals are, that you take time to add them to your schedule like everything else, right? If it's not intentionally scheduled, it doesn't happen, right? And many of us know that from experience. If you're trying to balance without a plan, really setting yourself up for way more stress than necessary, right? Also realizing that everything isn't going to fit into your calendar. So you really have to be intentional about your priorities and what you want to accomplish during Ramadan. My next question to you is, how do you currently prepare yourself spiritually and physically for fasting, right? And also mentally, right? You're about to fast for 29 or 30 days. Okay. Let's do a deep dive and see how we can prepare. This is one of my favorites, and it's really just looking at assessing your personal needs, um, and looking at making informed choices that help to sustain you throughout the day. Okay. Some of my favorites, when I talk about, preparing your mind and body for Ramadan, of course, the first one being renewing your intentions. Okay. What are my intentions for Ramadan? What are my intentions leading up to Ramadan? And then also looking at adding your daily zikr, okay, or your remembrance. And what does that look like for you? Okay. In the morning, during the day, in the evening, before you go to sleep at night, what does that look like? Another one is, if you're not already doing it, a beautiful way to kind of get you into reading the Quran even before Ramadan is to make sure that you're reading Surah Mulk before your bed time, okay, or before you go to sleep. Okay, you can read additional Quran, of course, but putting into practice some of the things that we may not do during the regular year, that we can really hone in on as we approach Ramadan. Okay. So reading Surah Mulk before bed, looking at the importance of fasting before Ramadan as you prepare yourself for Ramadan. Okay. Right now we're in the month of Sha'ban. And as we know, our beloved Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he actually fasted more in the month of Sha'ban than he did any other month outside of Ramadan. So really ask yourself, how can I prepare myself now for fasting in Ramadan? Okay, you can start fasting on Mondays and Thursdays. You can fast on, the 13th, 14th, and 15th if you don't already fast, right? So there are a lot of opportunity out there to really look at, how do I prepare myself spiritually and mentally and physically for Ramadan, especially because you're going to be fasting for 29 or 30 days. Ask yourself, how can I start that right now? Okay. And really get yourself into a totally different mindset. Eating your fruits and vegetables, your produce, okay? Asking yourself, okay, how can I really improve upon my intake when it comes to nutrient dense foods, more high fiber foods, and the like. And we're going to get into that in much more detail, okay? Increasing your water consumption, staying hydrated. Of course, this is important at any time during the year, but now is a time where, like, okay, extremely laser focused. We're getting and we're preparing for Ramadan. So now is the time to really assess, am I meeting my goals? What are my goals? What does my hydration look like? Is there room for improvement? Okay. So really taking stock and really looking at ways that you can prepare your mind and your body for Ramadan. Okay. You guys can drop some information if you want to in the comment section or the chat on ways that you think you want to prepare for Ramadan. You can always share it. Okay. We're also going to focus on the Ramadan basics. Okay, so these are some really simple kind of tasks or items that we can look at when we talk about our Ramadan basics, and we're really just looking at, again, focusing on what our intentions are for importance of nutrition, and looking at complex carbohydrates, nutrient dense meals. What do those look like? What do those consist of? Okay. Meal planning, looking at my planning meals at home, meals to take to another location, okay, friend, family, the masjid, okay, looking at iftar and suhoor tips and hydration, and we're going to talk about these in great detail. Okay. My favorite six, and I call these the 6 tips for keeping it sweet and simple when it comes to meal prep. Because in Ramadan, we're fasting, but then we're super excited. We share, our time, family and friends. So we really want to make sure that we're streamlining that process, and it's not a time of unnecessary overwhelm. Okay. So we want to really look at, what are 6 tips to keep it sweet and simple. Okay. And these are 6 that I've, really come to love over the years. The first one, of course, is renewing our intentions and saying Bismillah. And this is really also looking at your lifestyle, behavior, dietary modifications, our journeys that we take. Okay, so it's not an end game. It's more of a journey, okay? And we learn and we develop and we reassess and we remove what doesn't work for us along the journey, okay? So it's not something that has to be set in stone. It's definitely a learning process, okay? Planning your menu. What does it look like? Make a plan, right? Make a list. Okay, you can do a week at a time, or 2 weeks at a time, whatever is easiest for you. Okay, looking specifically at including simple nutrient dense fruits and vegetables, lean proteins. Okay, with your meals. Being your suhoor and your iftar, and then if you're going to have anything to eat in the evening, okay, after you break your we prayer, what does that look like? Okay, what are some of your favorite recipes? We all have our favorite recipes, especially in Ramadan, right? Some things I have in Ramadan that I may not have during the rest of the year, but because it's Ramadan, oh wow, this is great. I have a chance to partake in that. So really looking at selecting your recipes. What do they look like? My weekly recipes are very different than my weekend recipes, only because, at home, during the week, I actually eat at home. And then the weekends, that's when we go out to have iftar at the masjid. So everyone's schedule is different, but I think it's really important that we realize what works for us in our individual schedules or our family schedules, okay? Find really great recipes that you enjoy that are also um, healthy for you, that are also going to kind of help, elevate your nutrition. Okay. My favorite are the 30-minute meal prep recipes, right? These are things that either I can prep in 30 minutes or things that I don't necessarily have to be there to stand over. So, for instance, if you have recipes that can be prepared in a crock pot or recipes that can be prepared in an Instapot, right, or air fryer, look at things that you can use to simplify your life. Okay. Shopping for ingredients. Don't overwhelm yourself, right? If you shop the sales like I do, then I can say, okay, great. What's on sale this week that I can incorporate into recipes? Buy bulk. Check out the local farmers markets. Okay. Where are you purchasing your dates, right? Look at coupons and co-op options. Okay. Where do you shop for your foods? Do you buy in bulk or do you buy a few days at a time? Looking at how we prep our foods. So sometimes when we say, okay, how do we prep our foods? Do we do a pre-prep or do we prep and then cook everything the same day? Some people pre-prep and then they cook on a separate day. So you have to ask yourself, what helps you streamline that process? Looking at the use of fresh and frozen and canned fruits and vegetables, different things that you can eat, and then whether or not you season them overnight, or that you season them the day of the same day that you cook. So you want to look at what works for you in your time frame, in your schedule, in your home. Okay. Cooking and freezing. So I'm a big stovetop cooker, but I also use my crock pot and my toaster oven and my regular oven, whatever is easier for me, because I say, what are my 30-minute meals, right? What are my quick grains that I can cook? What are my quick vegetables? Okay. And how do I prepare those? Everyone has something in their kitchen as far as an appliance or something that they use as a go-to to streamline the preparation. Okay, so ask yourself, what am I going to be using for Ramadan? I already know I'm definitely going to be using my crock pot because I don't have to stand over it, my toaster oven in the morning for breakfast, my stovetop. So I already kind of know what my recipes are, what foods I'm going to be cooking, and what appliances I'm going to be using. And you guys can kind of jot this down as well. Just some recipes that that are quick and easy, especially when it comes to suhoor and iftar. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that. So when it comes to suhoor and iftar, and this is particularly for suhoor, our beloved Prophet Muhammad said having suhoor is a barakat, right? So don't leave it, right? Even if you wake up for just a sip of water, okay? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and his angels send blessings upon you for those who have suhoor. So the wisdom behind suhoor, right? For many reasons. There's blessing in it, of course. And this is the last time or the last instance where you would have something in the morning to help sustain you throughout the day while you're fasting. Okay. Four things that I want to share with you today, and this is specifically looking at Sahur tips. And I'm going to repeat this because oftentimes, a reminder benefits the believer, and sometimes we have to say things a few times, right, for it to snap, for it to link. So again, the first one is understanding the wisdom of Sahur. Okay, why we have Sahur, the prophetic wisdom of having Sahur, right? And really looking at taking the time to say, okay, I understand why Sahur is important. So I'm going to clear a path and make a way to make sure that Sahur is one of those goals that I set that I'm not going to miss, okay, for Ramadan. So looking at making sure you either prep Sahur or you have something very simple that you can have when you get up for Sahur and you don't run the risk of running out of time to have Sahur, okay? Set an alarm, right? Partner with a Ramadan buddy. This is what we've done for several years now. I know here in Atlanta, of course, we set our alarm, but we have our Ramadan buddy. And our Ramadan buddy is someone that we can text or call in the morning. Of course, they're not going to get offended because most of us are up. Okay, they're not going to get offended because you called them early, right? To wake them up for Sahur. So have a buddy, have somebody that you can text or call and say, hey, it's time to get up for Sahur. Of course, in your home, you can also create that with your children or your spouse, and really just make sure that Sahur is something you do as a family. And you can get up or have a friend that you can call and remember to get up for Sahur. Okay. Plan your strategy. Like I said, when you do get up for Sahur, is it something that you're going to eat the morning of, or is it something that you've prepared ahead of time and that you're just going to reheat and eat? Okay. So really looking at what your Sahur is going to look like. Okay. Keeping it simple. Okay. So that you can have the time to have Sahur and you're not rushing. Okay. I usually get up probably like maybe 45 minutes to an hour before. And a lot of it is also realizing that because it's right before Fajr, a lot of us are up because we're doing the Qiyam and we're praying, and then after that we kind of go right into Sahur, and then we finish Sahur and we do Fajr. So you also want to look at what that timing looks like. Okay. That's a big piece. Meals for Sahur, of course, that are quick and easy, that are nutrient dense and easy to prepare. So you don't want to overburden yourself or overwhelm yourself in the preparation of Sahur. Really keep it simple. And you can put things on repeat that you like, right? And we'll talk a little bit about those. When we're planning our Sahur specifically, we're looking at planning day to day. You can do it if that's easy. I do it for a week just because, hey, for that week, I already know what we're eating, and making sure that I shop ahead to make sure I have the items that I need on hand. Okay. Of course, not skipping Sahur. Have a snack or small meal before bed, and then consume plenty of fresh fruits, vegetables, small amounts of dried fruit, to help prevent, the loss of electrolytes if you're going to be working out. We'll talk a little bit about that. And then really making sure that you're hydrating, okay, during non-fasting hours. So we're really looking at what are some of the tips and strategies that we can use to make sure that we're planning a Sahur beneficial to us. When we talk about nutrient density, we're talking about several things, but four I'm going to focus on today. The first of which is fiber and complex carbs. So we're looking at nutrient density in the form of grains, okay, that offer fiber, complex carbs. And what are those? They can easily be whole grains, breads, cereals, oats, brown rice, things like that, okay? Couscous and bulgur, some of those are my favorites because they cook quickly, okay? Beans and nuts and seeds are very versatile. You can add those to soups and stews. You can add those to stir fries, things that you can cook in 30 minutes or less. Adding your lean protein, of course, is important for lean muscle mass. Making sure that you're looking at lean meats, fish, chicken, dairy products. And then if you are, say, vegan or vegetarian, you're also identifying lean proteins that you can eat around nuts, your seeds, and other. Okay. Heart healthy fats, of course, olives and olive oils, your avocados, There are a lot of different options that you can add. Your vitamins and minerals, we'll get into those. A lot of those will come from your foods, but if you need supplemental, then you can actually seek those out depending on which ones you need. And there's always a food first approach. So you can actually get them from your food. And then if you need anything up above and beyond that, there is supplement options. All right, so I'm going to talk a little bit about fiber, right? Because that's a really important one, and to look at how can we add, and these are 4 tips to add fiber in Ramadan, right? So looking at when you're planning your meals, you're planning your sahur or your iftar or your snacks, you're looking at vegetable options, right? You can choose a lot of different ones when it comes to your cereals. It's not just regular cereals, right? You can do hot or cold, but you want to make sure that the grains that you choose are whole grains versus refined grains. So what do we mean by whole grains? We're looking specifically at high fiber grains that are less processed. These can include quinoa, farro, millet, oats, barleys, bulgur, couscous. There are a lot of different grains that you can do. Adding fresh fruits, nuts and seeds to your suhoor, that's a great way to introduce your complex carbs and make sure that you have a high fiber, nutrient dense option as well. Start with fresh fruits and vegetables at iftar, right? So you open your fast, you break fast, you have your iftar, and then you go into your dinner meal. Okay, so you can add fresh fruits and vegetables there too. Okay, so you want to make sure that you're actually focusing on, and this is another goal, to make sure that you get the fiber that you need in Ramadan. One tip is to make sure that you actually stock your pantry when you're going shopping with things like dates. Of course, we're going to do that because it's Ramadan, but also looking at oats and lentils and fresh produce, right? So that we can really avoid last minute meal stress because we already have it on hand. It's quick, it's simple, it's something we can go to get the nutrition that we need. All right, my next question. And I guess this is kind of like a little task for you. If you'd like to write down like a list of your favorite grains that you think, hey, I can definitely add these as I plan for my sahur and my iftar for Ramadan. Okay, so that's your task. So you can kind of jot that down as you prepare to go grocery shopping. The next question is, what is one thing that you would like to simplify during Ramadan, right? So my schedule. Okay, we all have things that we like to simplify during Ramadan. One is your schedule, maybe, right? Your meal planning, really simple, right? So that we can free up some time. If we can prepare simply for the meals that we eat, then we have more time for ibadah, we have more time for worship, we have more time to spend with our family. So ask yourself, what is one thing that you would like to simplify during Ramadan? Okay. All right. We're going to talk a little bit about actual iftar meal, high fiber foods that we can include. And there is a really great option here where we can actually look at some of the high fiber foods that we can add. And they're relatively very simple, very easy to prepare. Some of them don't require preparing at all. If they are, like fresh vegetables, things like avocado and pears, you don't really prepare those. You just, cut them open and you eat them. So it's really important to identify what those high fiber foods might look like. When we're breaking fast and we have our iftar, our dates and water, and then we pray and we go for dinner, we want to look at what exactly is going to be on our plate. Okay. Foods, concentrated sweets. There are sweets and foods that we like. I like to use the rule of one. So the rule of one is you are one person, and for that dinner you're going to have one portion, right? And an example of this would be something like samosa. Okay, so we want you, to open your fast. We want you to break fast and enjoy your meal, but not go overboard, right? So consistency is key. Moderation is key. So if you're going to have it, you're having a small amount, okay? But you're really focusing on looking at options where you can add higher fiber foods, increasing your fruits and vegetables and your lean proteins, and then start maybe iftar with a warm soup. I know with us, we always start with some type of soup. Okay. A long day of fasting. And then it actually helps replenish you with the fluids that you need, right? And actually prepares the digestive system for eating a solid meal after fasting for so many hours. Okay, so that's a beautiful way to kind of open your fast and allow your digestive system kind of ease back into eating foods or prepare to eat solid foods after fasting all day, including a complex carbohydrate that is rich in fiber. And you have just a few options here. There are a lot more fiber options, and we've actually put together. We has a comprehensive list of high fiber foods that you can include with both suhoor and iftar. All right. My next question is, what are some of your to-go ways to stay hydrated uh, during your non-fasting hours? Okay. So, of course, non-fasting hours. So after we break fast, of course, we do our date and water, right? But when we talk about hydration, we're really looking at hydrating during non-fasting hours. A lot of times we ask ourselves, well, how much fluids do we really actually need, right? So the rule of thumb is to take your current weight, right, and you divide it by two. So say, for instance, you're 150 pounds and you divide by two, you have 75. That gives you the number of ounces you would have in a day. Now, granted, there are going to be variations, there are going to be some differences during Ramadan, but when you look at what your goal is, you assess whether you are at goal, or if you are not quite there, how do you on fasting hours. So some of the things that we can include actually include things like broths, bone broths. You can do regular vegetable broths, chicken broths. You can do soups. I'm a big lentil soup person, so you have different various soups that you can do. And some of us have, of course, our favorites that we like during the year and also during Ramadan. Things like popsicles, right? Coconut water. Fresh and dried fruits, okay? And that gives you not just the fiber, but also offers some electrolytes. Sports drinks, they replace electrolytes, but they also oftentimes contain artificial colorings or added sugar. So you just want to make sure you're reading those labels and you're choosing wisely, okay? Depending, of course, on your level of performance, if you do plan to exercise during fasting hours. Coffee, some people have withdrawal for coffee. Okay, Ramadan approaches. It's not that you can't have coffee. The recommendation is really no more than about 300 milligrams of caffeine. That's about 2 cups of coffee. So it's not that you have to cut coffee totally out, but you're not going to be drinking, 6 and 7 cups. So again, practice moderation. Okay, maybe 1 to 2 cups, and then really focus on your water intake. Focus on other ways to stay hydrated, and then also looking at limiting and avoiding sodas, again, with the of refined sugars and things like that. Concentrated sweets and beverages, you want to limit those. Drinking water, I always, when I go to the masjid, I bring like my favorite water bottle, and I usually add my water to it or whatever I'm going to be drinking, and then just making sure that I have that even between Isha and Tarawih, and then on my break for Tarawih before between the first four rakats and the second, I tend to sit and kind of drink my water as the imam is talking. So really thinking, what are some ways that I can really capitalize on my hydration and get what I need. And you can be very creative with your hydration. It doesn't just have to be plain water. I also use electrolytes in my water. Sometimes I add berries in my water. You can get really creative. Okay. The key is to make sure that you're hydrating, because again, you're preparing yourself, you're replacing, and then you're preparing yourself for another day of fasting. I did want to touch upon electrolytes because we're really also looking at the fact that electrolytes can actually help repair damaged tissues and provide a certain balance of electrolytes. Actually must exist in order for healing to begin. So some of the electrolytes that we want to focus on and include, of course, are calcium, potassium, sodium chloride, your salt, magnesium, and phosphorus. And the reason I put the slide here is so that we can get a visual, because some of us are visual learners, but we can definitely go through and we can look at our electrolytes and we can see the actual foods where we get those electrolytes. Okay. And it gives you kind of a good idea of where you can get those electrolytes. So, of course, your potassium, your bananas, your greens, your potatoes, things like tomatoes, and then your calcium, again, your cheese and dairy products, your sodium, that can actually come from sodium that naturally exists in your food, which is, of course, the recommended way to get it. And then some of us add salt. Don't be heavy handed, though, when you add salt to the meals that you're preparing. Your magnesium, again, and then your phosphorus. So, really just looking at having a healthy mix, a healthy balance of your different electrolytes. If there are any questions at this point, you guys can always drop them in the chat. We will be reviewing the chat and answering questions. I did want to take some time to really look at, again, resources and ways to kind of plan better, worry less, and nourish well. Because again, with working with your dietitian and preparing for Ramadan, we really want to make sure that you have the clarity and the resources and the support that you need. So we actually developed a Taste of Faith Ramadan resource library. Within the library, and we only have a limited time here, but within the library, it actually provides you a comprehensive Ramadan reset guidebook. And this guidebook actually has recipes. It has meal plans for 30 days in Ramadan, and they're all very different. Okay. It includes sahur, iftar recipes, smoothies as part of those meal plans, and then 70 additional recipes that you can use. Okay. It also includes tips on low and moderate physical activities that you can explore during Ramadan and beyond. So there's a lot of really great information that you can use, not just in Ramadan, but even beyond Ramadan. And you'll find yourself kind of coming back to it and looking at it. There are a lot of plant-based and traditional core food plans that gives you ideas on how to build your nutrient-dense meal plans, and then a nutrient-dense snack list. And the snack list is pretty cool because it's kind of bird's eye view of the different snacks that you can have. And it actually helps not just in Ramadan, but outside of Ramadan, especially if you're like, packing lunches for the kids, or you take, lunch with you when you're out and about. And it gives you some really great ideas on what you can include with that. It also includes 2 very beautiful full color dua booklets. Okay, so in Ramadan, some of us do our journaling and we put together the duas that we're going to be saying, especially throughout Ramadan and then the last 10 days of Ramadan. So this is a great resource to have, to really explore and maybe add to your dua list. And of course, there's a lot more information in our Ramadan bundle. It's really an all-in-one guide. So I encourage you and invite you to really explore it. You can actually download it with a QR code, and let me know what you think about it, inshallah. Of course, is to take our quiz, and it's really a great quiz that allows you insight into what your goals are, as well as how we can work with you on helping you to meet your goals. So you can either take the quiz or you can book a call to connect with us, inshallah. And this is my dua, of course, that Allah, of course, will allow us to enter Ramadan, inshallah, and accept it from us. Ameen. Thank you for joining us. We look